Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Vols Society Live on this Wednesday night. My name is David Morrison. I'm the Vols Society lead analyst, and we got a lot to talk about tonight. Another great show for you on this Wednesday night in the summertime, second day of the summer. To be exact, it's a beautiful 95 degrees outside, but hey, we're going to talk about some Tennessee football for you tonight. You see our social media platforms crawling across the bottom of the screen, facebook.com/UT Vols Society, on YouTube at youtube.com/Vols Society, and on Twitter at Society Vol. The chat room is on, so you can leave your comments and questions throughout the broadcast. I will try to read as much as I can. Like I said, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about recruiting. We're going to break down kind of what has happened the last 48 hours of Carnell Tate's recruitment, and then his announcement on Monday and kind of the fallout from it, as we missed out on Carnell Tate. And we'll also kind of break down some other names out on the board that Tennessee's looking up. Another recruiting weekend coming up in Knoxville this weekend. We'll also talk about, in our Behind Enemy Lines season preview, we'll talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Our founder Brad's in the chat room saying, "What, Vols Society, what's up? Make some noise. Put some comments in there. Who's watching along tonight?" Like I said, we'll talk about Alabama. We're also going to talk about some impact players for the Volunteers this year. Obviously, a couple that we'll be discussing that's on your preseason magazines all across the newsstands everywhere, since we're in that time. But I want to talk about some other players who can make some impact in this football season, and it's not getting a lot to talk about. So that's all coming up on this episode of Vols Society Live. All right, so let's talk about Carnell Tate. So Carnell Tate, we've discussed many times on this program. One of the top wide receivers in the nation. Back 3-4 months ago, really he wasn't on Tennessee's radar because it was, we have this bad tendency thinking, well, he's a Ohio State guy or he's this guy. We'll offer him a scholarship, but we're probably not going to be real serious about it. Well, ever since Josh Heupel's came in there, he's going in there, and I know Brad is an avid fisherman. He's going for the big bait. He's throwing everything in there to reel in some big fishes or some big time recruits. And that's one thing I appreciate about him. We went in off for Carnell Tate. And, with Nico being real good friends with Carnell. And of course, all these high school players follow each other on social media, as I mentioned before. And Brad says, yes, sir. We see, these players have these relationships and really know each other. And like I said, I'm sure Nico talked to Carnell about, hey, you need to look at Tennessee. There's something brewing down here. And he came and paid a visit, did the official visit and took the tour and the whole 9 yards, and seemed like it was trending up to him. And then probably the big shocker in his recruiting journey, when everything was starting projected towards us, the day I went to the Tennessee-Georgia baseball game right before SEC tournament time, Carnell Tate paid an unofficial visit, shocked everybody. He was at the baseball game I was at with Josh Heupel. It seemed like this is it. He's committing pretty soon. And Carnell went to this a 7-on-7 And then you had the big Ball Palooza Memorial Day recruiting weekend, which Carnell was not going to be a part of. And he even mentioned that in the past that he had another 7-on-7 tournament he was doing. So, everybody thought, well, this is it. He's going to commit to us. And then he kind of went quiet. I mean, not kind of, he went quiet for a while. And I ended up reporting like he was going to pay a visit to Georgia, and turned out that's not the case. So so Carnell Tate, I think, interviewed with like CBS at the last 7-on-7 he was at, and said that he was going to make an announcement in a couple of weeks, or he was pretty much done. He kind of shut down his recruitment, so you didn't really know what was going on. And then the leaks started to happen. The rumors started to happen that he was going to go to Ohio State. So Carnell Tate from Chicago, he grew up a Buckeyes fan, and everything was leaning towards Ohio State, where he was kind of originally committed, not originally committed to. Hello to my grandparents watching along. Where he was kind of leaning towards originally. So, and Carnell Tate, now he plays at IMG Academy, where we're going to talk about some of these other recruits, and a former Tennessee coach who's not very popular around here we'll talk about him in just a minute. Like I said, Tennessee had this pipeline kind of connecting to IMG Academy, and it seemed like it was going to happen. And then the Ohio State rumors started to happen and then everybody at On3.com, who does the crystal ball projections and 24/7, says he's going to Ohio State. And, it was kind of like, I hope this is not true. I hope it's not true. And then Brett Hubbs, who's one of the best ball insiders out there, says, it's going to happen. And I think it was Sunday, I texted Brad and said, Carnell's going to commit tomorrow at 1 o'clock on his social media pages. And he was, and one of the kind of the holdups was he wanted a videographer to record kind of his life, very similar to Nico's video. And lo and behold, he made the announcement, going to go play for the Ohio State University Buckeyes. So, my opinion is I wish him nothing but the best. I have no hard feelings for him. It does sting a little because Tennessee was right there at it. And, you just missed out on Kyler Casper and thinking, well, if you don't get Kyler Casper, obviously Carnell Tate's going to be a nice pickup, but not really on it. Brad says, did you see Twitter today? Pruitt on a radio show, and they asked him about the team that they could have a breakout year, and he said Tennessee. That's interesting, because I was just about to talk about one of his former assistants, Brian Niemeyer, and I might as well just go ahead and jump into it. Brian Niemeyer, the defensive coordinator at IMG Academy, who not one of the most popular coaches at Tennessee history, because he was the one that supposedly gave the McDonald's bags to the recruits. And so apparently he retweeted Carnell's video, and almost Vol fans kind of took it like he threw some shade at us. I don't know if that's true or not. So take it for what it's worth. Some Vol fans went on there and said some stuff to him, and apparently he blocked a lot of Vol fans and whatever. So it's quite interesting that happened. But, that's interesting that Pruitt said that. Kind of a rare interview for him too. So good info there, Brad. So like I said, Carnell Tate's now in the rearview mirror. He's off to Ohio State. Like I said, I wish him nothing but the best. I have no hard feelings for him. I think he really wanted the spotlight focus on him, and that's not a bad thing when you're a 5-star recruit. You want everybody to talk about you and get the buzz and get your name out there. And then once you come on campus, going to be a lot of pressure to live up to those expectations. So wish him nothing but the best. So as far as some recruits go to kind of watch out for, so I scroll down here, couple of guys. One guy I have not mentioned on here, and a lot of people hasn't talked about him, is Darius Redmond. So Darius Redmond plays at Powell High School in Powell, Tennessee. 4-star wide receiver, 6 foot, 180 pounds. He's right now he's offered is Tennessee and Kentucky. He played for Walter Nolan last year at Powell. Like I said, I can. It might can happen. I can see him come aboard at Tennessee. Like I said, I'm looking at on3.com. He's the number 35 wide receiver in the nation. Number 40. Well, it says 47 overall, but there's somebody above him is 52. So I got to figure that out a little bit better. So we'll see about him. And then the other one is Devin Hyatt. So Devin Hyatt's little big brother is Jalen Hyatt, who's one of the star wide receivers at Tennessee. Another guy from IG Academy. I feel very confident in getting Devin Hyatt. He's 6'1", 179 pounds, another 4-star wide receiver. He paid a visit. Right now, he paid a visit, I think, to Kentucky also. I'm not for sure. But I know he's obviously paid a visit to us. South Carolina is also very interested in getting Devin Hyatt, but I still kind of feel fairly confident we're going to get Devin Hyatt. And yes, I know it's not a 5-star wide receiver and a big-time explosive player, but I feel pretty confident on this getting Devin Hyatt. And the other one that I'm going to talk about is Malik Benson. Now, Malik Benson is the number 1 JUCO wide receiver in the nation. And right now, pretty much, he is in a 3-way. I think he released his top 5 too today. And he's going to announce his commitment on July the 5th. And pretty much the heavyweights of the SEC, and maybe us, if you want to count as a heavyweight, we're all in the mix. So, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and I've got the other one. Maybe Ohio State will lose the other one. They're all going after him. Right now, Alabama, according to what I've read, kind of has a slight lead on him. But anything can happen. I think, getting one of these 2 wide receivers, or at least getting 2 out of the 3, I think is going to be very nice. And you just bulked up a lot of wide receivers in the 2022 class with Squirrel White, Nimron, Cam. So you got these guys coming in. Plus, you still got Cedric Tillman, which he's going to the NFL next year. You still got Jalen Hyatt. You got the 2 Jimmies, Callaway and Holiday. Is one of them finally going to emerge onto the scene? Especially in the slot, still trying to figure out, who's going to get Velus Jones' spot from last year. Is it going to be one of the 2 Jimmies? You got Brew Mccoy, which I think he'll probably start opposite of Tillman. Unless you want to move Tillman in the slot, that could be interesting too. But it's going to be interesting to see how the wide receivers are going to look this year, and then implicating the freshmen, and then after that, where do you go? Maybe one of these young wide receivers can emerge as that number 1. But like I said, I do realize what they're trying to do, especially with Nico coming in 2023. He's going to be in the battle with him and Taven Jackson, as Hendon Hooker will be off to the NFL. Like I said, it's going to be this is going to be very interesting to see where everybody's going to be kind of lined up and how it's going to set out and just play out. So, and kind of throwing this little thought off the top of my head, as far as the Carnell Tate situation, I saw a lot of people was kind of saying, Tennessee can never land the big ones and all that, especially in the last few years. And I get what they're saying. It's going to come down to winning games also. Let's just face it, last year we over exceeded our expectations. Preseason, going 4-8, ended up going 7-6. Should have won the Music City Bowl. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again. But a great first year for Josh Heupel. You've seen what he's kind of done, especially having, the NCAA investigation kind of clouded over him, even though it's not a black cloud anymore, more like a grayish cloud. But still, it's above him. It's still sprinkling a little bit. So we'll see what kind of happens. And like I said, and that's why we talked about this season's a big year. And, Brad and I agree. We both think 9 wins is reachable for Tennessee. And you need to get these wins. You need to just, like I said, we beat South Carolinas and the Missouris and Kentuckys and Vanderbilts year in and year out for the most part. But now you gotta have a bigger win. You gotta knock out one of these heavyweights. Georgia and Alabama, they're the two top dogs. And even me, I'm not even going to say we're going to get a win. But that Florida game is so important. Here's a chance to beat Florida for the first time since 2016, and only the second time in forever. To beat them at home and ride maybe an undefeated streak going into Death Valley against LSU. And can you imagine if you beat LSU? Then you'll go undefeated into the third Saturday in October when Alabama's coming into your backyard. Like I said, Tennessee's going to need to get these wins, even getting the revenge win over Pittsburgh. Like I said, I'm not really high on Pittsburgh as I was last year, but getting these quality wins under your belt, building some momentum, and then even riding it out. Because we all know, Brad says Florida's going to go down this year. Yeah, I think so. Me too. And like I said, even riding the momentum in October where we've struggled, that's where most of our big games are. Whether it's, I know Georgia's moved to November now, but, even like that middle of October when Georgia was there, and then we always had a team from the SEC West that always beats us. Like I said, LSU's that opponent this year. You need to rattle off some of these big wins, and even some of these. Well, Tennessee may win or may not win. We need these may or may not wins need to be wins, because that's where you get some of these high school kids looking at, Tennessee, they may have something going. We're still in the SEC. We play in the East. We play the toughest SEC schedule year in and year out because we always get Alabama. You always play Georgia. And like I said, you always get a team out in the West that's seems like every year they're at their high point, except that one year we played Mississippi State. So, like I said, this is a big year for Josh Heupel, and I'm not saying if he doesn't meet the expectations, we send the flares and flames out at him. But I think this has to be a big year as far as picking up these wins and then picking up the recruits along the way. It all builds up in the end. So, any questions or comments on that? I know that was a kind of a long rant there, but I truly believe it. That's just what it comes down to. Is just you got to get wins, and you got to, and like I said, you're even going to have to win sometimes in recruit battle. That deserves a drink right there. All right, so let's talk about some of these impact players coming up for this year. So it's preseason magazine time. Whether you've been in the grocery store or Walmart or the drugstore, and you go by the magazine section, which is about the only time I go through the magazine section. Right during the start of football season, you have your football time in Tennessee, your Athlon, Lindy's, whoever else, and you start reading about obviously the upcoming season. So I'm going to talk about some of the impact players. Obviously, like I said, when you look on the preseason magazines, you're either going to see Hendon Hooker or Cedric Tillman. We know they're impact players. We know what they did last year. Hendon Hooker, told this story 100 times before, came in during the Pittsburgh game when Joe Milton kind of got banged up and some inconsistent plays, and put up a valiant effort coming in cold and playing against a team that he's had experience with playing at Virginia Tech, but came in and put up a valiant effort, almost picked up the win. Then he started the next week in Cincy Tech, and we rolled on, and he ended up having a great season, a 30-plus touchdown season with 4 picks. Just outstanding. Cedric Tillman, 4 years at Tennessee, only had 8 catches, 4 catches, something like that. Ends up having a 1,000-yard season, and now one of the top wide receivers in the SEC. So we know about Tillman and Hooker. So let's talk about some of these others. First guy I'm thinking of off the top of my head is Jeremy Banks. So Jeremy Banks has been at Tennessee, feels like, for 20 years, but he's coming back for his super senior year. Remember, he came at Tennessee. He was a running back, looked really good, and then kind of had a roller coaster run at Tennessee. Kevin says has a good feeling about this year. I do too. And thank you for tuning in, Kevin. Wow, we got 10 viewers. We had 10 viewers. I scared 2 away. That's like one of the highest we had in a while. Anyways, looking at Jeremy Banks. So, like I said, Jeremy Banks, what happened, the arrest and the video, and kind of had to win his way back on the team. Well, he's completely a different person since he's been back in Tennessee. Converted from running back to linebacker, had a great season, led the team in tackles, had 5.5 sacks. I think this can be a great super senior year for Jeremy Banks. Like I said, it's going to be a great year. I think he can have a great year. And like I said, especially in that linebacking core, which is still a little iffy. You had Banks and Beasley pretty much throughout most of the year. You had, Juwan Mitchell came from the transfer portal from Texas. Got banged up early on in the year and never really saw the field again. But like I said, especially in a very weak position that got beat up last year, Jeremy Banks rose to the occasion and, like I said, led the team in tackles. And I'm very excited to see what he can do his super senior year. Another guy, Byron Young. Byron Young, a great story. It was told last year during football season. Former assistant Dollar General Manager. Basically sent his highlights into Tennessee, got on the team, and had a great year last year. I'm excited to see what Byron Young can do for us. I think he can be one of the best edge rushers / combo players. He can kind of play linebacker and edge. I really love Byron Young. I love his story. I love just what he brings each and every week. I think he can be a very impactful player. Another guys, I'm actually going to go with the 2 safeties, Jalen McCullough and Travion Flowers. So, last year, like I said, the safeties played okay, but, at times they gave up a lot. Matter of fact, they gave up too much because Tennessee had the worst pass defense in the SEC last year. That's got to improve, especially on the corners, and which is crazy to think because Alontae Taylor ended up going to the NFL and was a 3rd-round draft pick for being on one of the worst pass defenses in the league. But hey, just proves how great a player he is. But I really think that Jalen McCullough and Travion Flowers can be one of the best safety duos in the SEC. Like I said, if they can get their techniques down and kind of, play to a similar style what Theo Jackson did last year, which I'm hearing he's doing very good at Titans mini camp. I think they can both be fantastic additions. I think they're great players. It's just at times they just kind of got lost in the shuffle and kind of got, burned in some coverages. But, if they can have a little bit of that Theo Jackson dog mentality in them, I think they both can be probably the best safety combo in the SEC. I think that's high expectations for them, but it can be me. Going back to the offense, I think he can be an impactful player, but there's a lot of question marks, and that's Brew Mccoy. So Brew Mccoy, former 5-star wide receiver at USC, originally committed to Texas and then decommitted and went to USC. Like I said, played under Clay Helton, played with Velus Jones for a little bit. Had some trouble at SC, and then he went into the transfer portal, and everybody kind of wanted him a little bit. But like I said, he was still committed to USC as far as like he wanted to get his degree and then go somewhere else. So he came to Tennessee. I think he set out for the COVID year in 2020. So it's been, about 3 years since he's played football. So a lot of question marks on Brew Mccoy, but just kind of what I've watched of him, like I said, I think he can be right there in the thick of things. We talked about Tillman already, and we talked about a little bit about Jalen Hyatt at times and the 2 Jimmies, but I think Brew can be right there. I mean, he's built like a Brew. Like I said, he's got the size, and I think he can break some tackles from what I see, and especially going up in the SEC against some talented corners. If he can get in the right position, I think he can be a very impactful player. Others kind of think of the tight ends. I think Jacob Warren can be an impactful player. He was very consistent last year. Matter of fact, I think Hendon Hooker went to, besides Tillman, I think that was probably Hendon's second or third favorite target last year. Jacob Warren, Preston Fant, and the other tight end. Didn't get a lot of touches, but made some impactful plays last year. I think both Warren and Fant can be, like I said, right there in the thick of things. And then on the offensive line, Darnell Wright. So Darnell Wright, 5-star offensive lineman. He came, I think he was either in the same class of Trey Smith or the year after Trey Smith. I know he was in there with Wanye Morris. Then Wanye transferred to Oklahoma. Like I said, he's been with the program for a long time. He's seen the ups and downs. Like I said, he doesn't get a lot talked about as far as one of the best offensive linemen in the nation, just obviously because I think a lot of people in the national media turns their nose to Tennessee. But, he's a great offensive lineman, especially at right tackle. He can open some holes up for them running backs, whether it's Small or Jalen Wright, Justin William Thomas, who's coming in, and I'll get to him in just a minute. Just very underappreciated as a offensive lineman. And, like I said, he's been healthy. He's played a lot of games at Tennessee. He knows what he's doing. Very rarely penalized. And that's kind of been one of my pet peeves the last few years as a Tennessee fan, is seeing some of these experienced offensive linemen get called for silly penalties, jumping off sides, and obvious holding penalties. And I know sometimes you get frustrated with some of the calls that don't go your way, but some are just plain obvious. But Darnell Wright, you rarely ever see it from him. I mentioned Justin William Thomas at running back. So Justin William Thomas probably won't be starting day one against Ball State, but I think he can have some touches right after Jabari Small and Jalen Wright. Remember last year, that running back room got banged up, especially towards the end of the year going into the bowl game. Of course, you had Ty John Evans hit the transfer portal midway because he got banged up and got hurt. And I think it was that South Carolina game. Like, he played like one or two games and he was pretty much done. Now he's off to Louisville. And then you had Jabari Small, who did okay, and Jalen Wright kind of broke out from times. But that running game never really was flowing well as it was at the beginning of the year. Insert Justin William Thomas, like I said, a former West Virginia commit, now coming to Tennessee. I really am excited about him. He's got a lot of speed, can hit the hole very well. Great vision, what I've heard. Especially, even last year, both Jabari Small ended up getting hurt during the Mississippi Bowl. I think that's a good security blanket. You want to see all your running backs stay healthy, but I think if they're still banged up or maybe having them nagging injuries, I think Justin William Thomas can fit right in and pick up what needs to be. So those are some of my impactful players. Well, I'll give you one more, and this is kind of not much of a impactful player, but could be Chase Mcgrath. So Chase Mcgrath, the kicker from formerly of USC, he played last year as our main kicker. Like I said, probably another guy that doesn't get talked a lot about, but very impactful for the most part. So who's some of your impactful players for next year? Maybe somebody I hadn't thought about. I mean, I'm just kind of rattling off the top of my brain here of some that can be big-time players and some that doesn't get talked about a lot but does play very well. And I know in the comments saying this is going to be a great year, have a good feeling about it, and I agree. Like I said, Tennessee is in a good position to set them up for a great future. You look at where the schedule is, especially at the beginning of the year. I mean, it's almost a typical Tennessee schedule for the most part. You have some cupcake games at the beginning, and then you always have that one non-conference Power 5 game. This year we're going on the road for the first time in a few years to play a non-conference opponent when we go to Hyattsville to take on Pitt. You look at October, with LSU, Alabama, and then, South Carolina and Missouri, the typical people, and especially towards the tail end of the season when it trickles off. But yeah, we'll talk about Alabama in our Behind Enemy Line series right now. Like I said, Alabama, typical Alabama season, except they end up falling in the national championship game to Georgia. I'm not going to, obviously they're still a juggernaut. You got Bryce Young coming back. You got Jahmyr Gibbs at running back, transfer from Georgia Tech, who at one time was a top Tennessee target in the transfer portal. Didn't happen. You got Will Anderson, who, probably should have won the Heisman Trophy. At least should have went to New York. I don't know why in the world he was not invited. I think he will be this year the best defensive player in the nation. Another typical Nick Saban team that's just full of talent. A lot of guys you're going to hear next year in the NFL draft. Just a juggernaut of a team. They get normally Alabama week's one opponent is, they always play like the Chick-fil-A game or the game in Arlington. No neutral site game for Alabama for the first time in many years. Their week, they open the season, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. They open their season at home against Utah State, and then week 2 they go down to Austin to take on future SEC foe, the Texas Longhorns. That's one of the Fox Big Noon Saturday kickoffs. That's in week 2. Very interesting matchup. I think Alabama will take care of business down there, but definitely an intriguing game to look out for week 2. Trying to remember who they pulled from the East this year. I think it's Missouri, maybe. Nobody really, or maybe it was one of the bottom tier teams in the SEC East. But and of course, they get to host Texas. They host Texas A&M this year. Remember last year they went down to College Station on October the 9th, and the Aggies upset them in that primetime CBS game. And CBS announced they're going to do a doubleheader that day, and even though they haven't announced the game, but I think we kind of know where they're going with. It will be Texas A&M at Alabama under the lights in Tuscaloosa. And of course, their typical SEC West opponents. They got a lot of tough road games. I will say that. Obviously it's kind of the same teams they play every other year on the road, but I think that home field advantage is going to be very raucous this year, maybe even more than last year, because especially in the SEC, you got a lot of teams kind of trending up that got a shot in the arm last year. Arkansas is one of them. Alabama goes to Razorback Stadium. Like I said, they upset Texas last year. I'm not saying they're going to upset Alabama there, but something to keep in mind. Alabama comes to Tennessee. If Tennessee goes undefeated going into the third Saturday in October, Neyland Stadium is going to be epic loud. It's going to be deafening, and it's going to be a hostile environment, and even Alabama fans would admit that. And even some Alabama fans say our rivalry is bigger than the Auburn rivalry, the Iron Bowl. Trying to think of there's somebody else. I think they go to Auburn this year, which is always kind of a tough place for them. So, like I said, Alabama's been in critical situations this year. Like I said, I think they got a really tough road schedule. They're going to be I think they're going to be in some nail biters this year. It's just going to be who's going to upset them at home. Ole Miss, I know they go to the Grove next year. Lane is ready for them, and that so it's like I said, it's going to be a very interesting year for Alabama. I expect them to get double-digit wins and definitely a playoff contender. But it's definitely going to be very interesting to see them going on the road, especially if the SEC West has really, teams that is above 500 or right in fighting distance. But if Ole Miss slacks off and they're hovering at 500 when Alabama comes in. I don't know if that hostile environment is going to play dividends. Arkansas, I think, is right near us. It's kind of the same thing, and I know they get Cincinnati week 1, and if they drop that game and drop to Texas A&M and drop somewhere else, it may not be that case. But, hopefully for the SEC, you kind of want to see these teams trend up and be a competitive conference, which is always a competitive conference. But, to try to knock off the Goliath of Alabama, you want to kind of see everybody play good. And even us, like I said, we have an opportunity to go undefeated to that Alabama game. Like I said, we're going to be battle tested early on with Pitt and LSU and Florida, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of a look at Alabama. Next week, we will continue on with our Behind Enemy Line series as we talk about Kentucky. Other news and notes, tomorrow, as far as TV viewership goes, NBA draft tomorrow. Good luck to Kennedy Chandler, one of the top players that could be drafted. I'm reading everything that he may be going to the Memphis Grizzlies, so that would be very exciting to keep the hometown, collegiate hometown kid staying in the state of Tennessee to play for the Grizz. And then also tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on the SEC Network, there's going to be a great documentary about Tamika Catchings, about her time at Tennessee and just kind of her life in general. It's called Catch 98. For some reason, I thought it was going to be Tuesday night, but actually they had the premiere in Knoxville Tuesday. That's where I kind of got the dates confused. I was going to do a review for y'all tonight, but I found out that was just the premiere. So tomorrow night at 7 o'clock on SEC Network is a documentary on Tamika Catchings called Catch 98. So, and I'll review that for y'all next week. So definitely, it should be an exciting Thursday. Like I said, with this documentary, I heard it was very well. Like I said, they premiered it at University of Tennessee last night. Danny White was there. Of course, Kelly Harper and several VFLs. I saw Holly Warlick was there, and some of the local media and some of the ESPN folks there. Of course, like I said, Tamika Catchings works for the SEC Network. So it should be a very, very interesting documentary tomorrow night. Any questions or comments? It's all quiet in here. Like I said, we got a spike in viewership. Make sure if you're watching us on Facebook, don't forget to follow us, facebook.com/UT Vols Society. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like the video, share it out, get it trending. Even on Twitter, if you're watching along, follow us along. Kevin says, go Vols. Absolutely, go Vols indeed. Like I said, we are 71 days away until it's football time in Tennessee. September the 1st, kick it off against Ball State, 7 o'clock, kick off under the lights. New Jumbotron and everything. Bernard says, go Vols. Go Vols to you, and thank you for tuning in. Like I said, I'm excited. Like I said, it's going to be a fun season. Like I said, we got a lot of good stuff coming along through Vols Society. We're doing the countdown to kickoff every day. Like I said, we got a big one tomorrow with 70 to go. There's some legendary VFL players who wore number 70. So check us out on Facebook with that. Brad says minimum 9 wins. It's happening. Yes. Other stuff, like I said, Vols Society podcast coming along. Johnny in the house. He says, I'll be there 15th year. I've been pumped for Vol football. That's awesome. Like I said, we got the podcast coming up. Hopefully Johnny can join us. Be myself, our founder, Brad, David Dees, and other guests. Vols Society podcast coming at the end of the summer, going into football season. Let's go, as our founder Brad says. So, like I said, we've had a uptick in followers and stuff. Just kind of keep y'all updated. I said we'll get our founder Brad talking along, He's like I said, it's just not me. There's a lot of other people. And Brad said, Johnny's going to be on the right. I won't be disappointed this year. It's going to be different year for us. Oh, I hope so. I really do. I think it's going to be fun. Like I said, we got, like I said, we talked about some impactful players. We got, I know a lot of people's talking about the recruiting and stuff that's kind of happened, but, like I said, I think we're going to win some games. I think we're going to open some eyes, may shock some people. Who knows? Like I said, college football, anything can happen. Any given Saturday, anybody can get upset. Brad says Johnny has a ticket with my name on it. Yeah. Brad, hopefully we get our founder Brad to come back out to Knoxville for a game. I know it's been over 10 years since Brad's been out there. I think 2010. Johnny says you know it. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the double jumbotrons. I saw when I went to the Carolina Panthers game. It was really good to see that. Yeah. Brad says last game was 22. Then Brad went to California after he graduated UT. Just kind of the new renovations at Neyland Stadium should be a lot of fun. Of course, just going up there, just seeing old friends and stuff, and the tailgating and all that stuff should be a lot of fun. I actually watched a little football from where I'm at. Watched a 7-on-7 tournament last night, featuring more schools in the Chattanooga area, and a former classmate of ours, Derek Vessel. Want to say congratulations and good luck this season, as he's a first-time head coach at Sequoia High School in Madisonville, Tennessee. Like I said, Brad and we went to school together. Of course, Brad played a little high school football, and Derek's our QB, so we wish him good luck. And even a lot of our high school coaches in the area, we wish them the best of luck coming up this season. Johnny says, Danny White has the entire athletic department on a different level is what we needed. Yes. Absolutely. We love Danny White on here. I love Danny White, what he brings. Like I said, he gets it. We mentioned this several times before, society in general, I'm not talking about Vols society, but society in general changes with times and trends. And I know sometimes trends and changes are difficult, and especially me, I kind of get caught up from changes and traditions. But I think, you're catering to a different generation, stuff that we may like when we were in our 20s. The current 20-year-old kids don't really like or get. So you kind of have to adapt with them, because that's basically your entire athletic department is 18 to 23, 24-year-old kids. It's what do they like? What's trending for them? And I think Danny White realizes that, and that's why you see the renovations. And we've always had kind of renovations at the University of Tennessee, but we're seeing it being more presented in a modern aspect. Renovating Neyland Stadium, and then Lindsey Nelson Stadium, the baseball stadium, getting a big renovation coming up. And just everything is just gelling right now. John's exactly right. It's the name of the game. Yeah. And especially in this ever-changing world with college athletics, and with NIL and transfer portal, and I know it's a touchy subject for some people, and I get it. And I agree with some of the appeals, but we're here, and it's facing us right now. And I think what we need to do is just find a way to. Vols society is gelling. Let's go. We got to find a way to incorporate. How can we accept these changes and put it in a positive light that will trend the University of Tennessee into a great future? And like I said, Danny White is doing that right now, and you're seeing results all across all of our sports. I mean, I can't remember a time being like that. We've always, we've mentioned it before in some time, in the mid 2000s with football and the two basketball programs doing very well. We had one small college World Series appearance in 2005. And then we talked about 98 with Tennessee football program winning a national championship. And then 3 months later, the Lady Vols winning their three-peat. But like, just I've never seen all three programs, trending in a positive way that in my lifetime. Like I said, the baseball program, Brad says Dr. Danny is the man. It's in his blood, knows what's up. Yeah. I've never, like I said, with the baseball program, I know we talked about the last the season recap last week. But you look at where the Tennessee baseball program is, one of the top college baseball programs in the nation. Even if we're the villains, that's fine with us. At least it got people interested in Tennessee baseball and college baseball in general. Games selling out like crazy. It's going to sell out again next year. I guarantee that. You look at Tennessee basketball coming off an SEC tournament championship, first time since 1979. Get back to NIL. Johnny says we have to embrace the rules as they are right now, and that's what we are doing. Who knows what it looks like in 10 years, but we're on a trajectory to win again. Yeah, absolutely. Absolute. And that's the name of the game, is winning also. Like I said, and we've got the right coaches in place. Tony Vitella knows what's up with baseball, getting us in the right direction. Rick Barnes, getting the basketball program in a great direction, bringing some great recruits. I'm really excited about basketball next year. Everybody coming back, especially with Josiah Jordan-James and Santiago basically pulling their name out of the NBA draft. And then we talked about football this whole program, and 9 wins. It's been a long time since we had 9 wins. I mean, we could be at Christmas time or New Year's 2023 a 10-win Tennessee program. We haven't seen a 10-win Tennessee program since 2008, and we are a top 10 winningest program in college football history. I mean, it's crazy to think. Or, well, let me clarify, the New Year's 2008, which was the 2007 season, because we all know what happened in the 2008 season, so let me correct myself on that. But, I mean, it could be really good. It can be good. Brad says, dude, I'm literally getting geeked about football season right now. Then we got basketball, who's going to be great. Yeah. Like I said, I really am excited about the 2022-2023 just sports calendar year in general. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, with football going on, having potential to get 10 wins. Like I said, got a long way to go. It's a long season. You got, Brad says, so much to look forward to. Yeah, basketball is going to be good. They announced the SEC Big 12 Challenge a few days ago, and we're going to host Texas this year at Thompson-Boling Arena for the first time since 2006. The infamous Chris Lofton shot over Kevin Durant. I was in attendance that day. Looking forward to that one. They also announced we're going to play the Maryland Terrapins at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn sometime around Christmas, I believe, is when that game takes place. So basketball schedule is starting to take shape a little bit. I think we go to Maui this year too. I think we're in the Maui tournament. So just a lot to look forward to. Actually, that's 2023. We go to the Bahamas, down at the ballroom down in Nassau, Bahamas. Can't remember the tournament name. Right, says, hey, David, you need to get Johnny on one of those Vols Society posters. I know. I have to hook you up there, John. Like I said, I got this from Walgreens, so I'll have to figure out how to get in touch with you on that. And like I said, we talked about basketball and then baseball. Like I said, we're still good ways away from that, but it's gonna be fun. But Johnny says, yes, sir. Yeah. Any others? A lot of optimism in the comments tonight, which we like. We keep the negativity out. Walgreens selling Vols Society merch. Let's go. Well, that's where I got the poster from when I printed it off from there, which is funny because they made two. This is kind of a side story here. They made 2 copies of my poster. long story short, long story to a short story. So the Walgreens I normally go to, their printer was down, so I had to go across town to go get it made. Designed by B Rad. So I had to go to the other Walgreens in my town, and they printed it out and got it, for me, and I hung it up. And then I went back into that other Walgreens probably like 2 months later, and I was walking around by their photo booth, and there was my other copy in there. So they ended up printing it off. So for like 2 months, there was just an extra poster. I should have just paid for another one. Should have sent to Johnny, but I didn't think about it. So we need to get some Vols Society merch, T-shirts and stuff. I know I got a T-shirt, and I think Brad's got one. This for us, but we'll have to do something for this season. Get some merch, maybe some posters, or see what we can do. Should be a lot of fun. Brad says we will. Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up for Vols Society. Like I said, the podcast is coming up. I'm going to be doing like I did last football season, going up to the games and doing some live video stories. And whatever else games I'll get into. Like I said, just follow along with us on Vols Society on all our social media platforms. Just a lot of cool stuff going on. Any others? It's been a lot of fun tonight. It's been a great episode. Everybody tuning in. Like I said, good. Anytime we get Johnny in here, I think it raises us. We love all of our viewers. We get Johnny in here, he gets going, and he brings the optimism up. Always a great show. Even when we get D's in here and Ryan and others, like I said, we love all our Vols Society viewers. Don't want to just single it out, but we get fired up, especially Brad. All right, I guess that's going to kind of wrap it up. I'm kind of getting there dead air here. So, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Get us all in here. It'll be a good time. Absolutely, share it out. Let's bring everybody in here. It's a good time. Just wait until football season. Yeah. All right, so that's going to kind of wrap it up for Vols Society Live. We'll be back next week. We'll talk about the Kentucky Wildcats. Like I said, now we got a lot of free time with baseball done, and we'll talk more football and other stuff going on in Vols Society. I'll talk about the Tamika Catchings documentary that's going to take place tomorrow. We'll also find out where Kennedy Chandler will be heading to the NBA. Will you be at the home opener? I am planning on being at the home opener September the 1st. Like I said, I still got to get – they made it more difficult to get tickets this year, which I'm not really surprised. Normally, my ticket guy usually calls me around springtime, and usually I'll renew and get the pass this year, but it seems like they're kind of still trying to sell season tickets and get them sold, and maybe they'll break down the individuals. So we'll see what I can rattle up. Like I said, I normally get the non-donor season pass, like the VIP pass, the all-ball pass. They change the name every year. But basically, it's just a virtual ticket. Basically, what I do is Monday for game day, I go in to the all-ball tickets website, and I pick my seats for whatever game is coming up, and then they'll send me my tickets, and it's a virtual ticket, and then just go in and scan like normal. Johnny said, Brad says, where's your view this season, John? Normally, I try to get like section M and N. I will say last year for the Ole Miss game, I almost got left out because I waited too late because Crazy David didn't really think about getting them that money, and he waited till about Thursday. But I got left out for that Ole Miss game, but thankfully I figured something out to get to it. So get it early if you do that. We're waiting for Johnny. Let's see. Johnny says I'm at 9 wins. It all hinges on Florida, who should be better than, but we all know the history there. Yeah. Absolutely. That's why this Florida game's so critical this year. Definitely so. All right, so like I said, we're doing a Southern goodbye where we say goodbye and then talk for 5 more minutes, but it's all good. Like I said, we're keeping it going here. Oh, we meant Seaview, so we gotta wait for Johnny C. Oh, that's what I thought you meant. By the way, drink tonight Hershey chocolate milk. Does the body good. Yeah, like I said, we're kind of sound like a broken drum here, but absolutely excited about this season. A lot of good stuff coming down the pipe. There we go. Johnny, lower corner, double X. Okay, cool. Official sponsor, VSL Hershey. Absolutely. This is also a good post-workout drink, too. Although I did cardio tonight. I'll double check. Okay. Double check and get back to you. Okay, cool. Perfect. All right. So now, I think we're done. We waited for Johnny's answer there. Like I said, thank you for everybody tuning in tonight for Vols Society Live. Back here next week, we'll talk more news and notes, talk more football, and any other stuff going down the pipe. Hopefully, get some recruits come our way, and we'll talk all about them. Exactly. So until next week, this is David Morrison for Vols Society Live saying good night and go Vols.